Well, here we are. This is a project a couple years in the making, and apologies up front to all the folks that are subscribed for retro gaming or gaming content when I hinted at, we've got other stuff going on here. This is two of the other things that we have going on apart from a bunch of others. But yeah, so we have a 79 Jag, 79 Jag 3000 and a 79 El Tigre 6000 liquid 440, right? So yeah, bought this particular sled 2 years ago, I guess maybe three years ago technically, for $100, totally shot, wouldn't start, hadn't ran for upwards of 20 years. Even the guy I bought it from, who had it for 10 years, never had it started. And I asked if he ever knew when it ran, and he said the guy he bought it from hadn't ran it for several years when he acquired it. So this thing, bare minimum, hasn't ran for maybe 15 years prior to 2 years ago. So fast forward, did a lot of work to it, and runs great. Everybody says these old sleds, they don't want to start when it's cold. It's currently 10 degrees here with the wind chill. It's probably even colder. Absolutely freezing. Solid sled, fast. Not fast by a modern sense, but you get on this thing and hit the gas, it'll really open your eyes. And some would say less exciting, but equally as fun. The Jag, this is a kind of a family heirloom here with the in-laws, but a runner for decades. This thing's been outside its entire life. You'll see it's missing the windshield, got all the battle scars, and it just runs. I mean, people say it's a 15-to-1 sled. You work on it for 15 minutes, ride it for 1 minute, but no, these sleds just run. I mean, there's times where they have their issues, and you gotta address it, but it just runs. It just wants to run. A lot of track work has been done on this over the years. Some of the main linkages have snapped in the past, and you'll see where the dog has chewed some chunks out of it over the years. But modified CDI box, if I understand, back in the 80s, this thing failed, and I believe it was the CDI box itself was cut into and the transistors replaced. So none of this stuff here, including the El Tigre, is exactly how it should be, but it is, and it's running. So yeah, this one we don't really have to touch. The choke cable snapped the other day, and we just kind of rigged it and fixed it. Yeah, it just goes. And the El Tigre, kind of a different story. Since it's a new a brand new addition to the family here, we have a couple different things going on. I got a new seat, original foam, but new seat cover, and it looks like it doesn't exactly match up correctly. So this is just kind of sitting on there for now, but we'll have that and just kind of deal with it. It's fine. But yeah, let me crack this open quick. Oh yeah, and if you're thinking about getting into this game here and you want to replace some of these gauges, good luck. They're hundreds of dollars a piece if you can find them. Currently, Speedo's broke. I have the parts to repair it, but I haven't done it yet. And this temp gauge is frozen, but the tack works. And yeah, I'll just open this guy up here quick. This had the most extensive amount of work. Since the Jag was always running, for decades, it never really needed that much of an overhaul because it always ran. But this, we found, when we pulled it apart, it wouldn't run. The stator, actually the lighting coil had exploded and shredded inside the housing, so the thing wouldn't even spin. So this had an engine out kind of service. The engine wasn't disassembled, but we kind of flushed it out and cleaned it all up, and carburetors were rebuilt with new parts and new fuel lines, stuff like that. Crazy expensive. If you want to get new parts for these carburetors, I think these are Mikuni VM-32s. Just the parts themselves, I didn't even do the needles or anything like that, but needle seats and needle valves and all that stuff. Floats were good. I think it was like over $100 just for the carburetor parts. New hoses, new fuel lines. This is liquid cooled, so it had a new water pump belt put on, new thermostat. You'll see a little bit of a rig job here because the head, some of the head bolts and these thermostat bolts, they just want to snap. At this point in their life, you start torquing on these, they'll just snap off. It looked like cheap white metal, and maybe not the head bolts, but the thermostat housing bolts, not great at all. So they just snapped right off. But yeah, otherwise, you know, new voltage regulator here. Painted the exhaust, still has a leak, but at least it looks a little bit better. The leak's not too bad. But yeah, and you'll see the custom wiring here. When we got it, basically the brake light was cut, and the brake line runs underneath the seat all the way back here to the light, and it was just kind of hanging there. So we had to figure out, you know, where exactly all that tied into, and got it done. So nothing crazy, but I feel like these sleds now, when I was doing this even 2 or 3 years ago and doing my research, there's not a lot of videos out there on these things. There's just like a 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 videos, and you know, they're old. Like the videos are, man, 11 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, 7 years old. Like nobody's really running these things anymore. Did they all die? Like, or are they all these immaculately restored machines that go to the vintage runs and then they sit in the garage forever? No, these things run, and you know, we just moved out here. Finally can have some space to run these things. This actually hit 68, I think, on a frozen lake just down the road here after I finished it, and that was before the track was tightened up and with some new idler wheels and things of that nature, and it wasn't even lubed up. The thing was kind of a mess. Yeah, so a couple things outstanding to work on, but they just want to run. That's what's crazy about these. They'll just run. More modern Arctic Cats, you know, the joke is they're always broken down. I've noticed that, you know, going to upstate, predominantly Arctic Cats are, you know, back when, this was about 10 years ago, last time we were running up there regularly, Arctic Cats catching on fire was a common sight. I think I saw 2 of them literally melt down on the trail, just on fire, melting, and you know, there's no way you're gonna put it out. You can't throw snow on and stop a fire like that, so they just burn. They burn right down. But these old Arctic Cats, up till I think 1984, because they went out of business or whatever, changed hands in 82, I think. And then when they came back in 84, they still used the parts from, you know, original Arctic Cat. So even an 84 Arctic Cat, I think, is the last Arctic Cat that uses real Arctic Cat parts and parts bins and stuff like that. But since these are 2 late 70s machines, these are legit. And like I said, they just run. We'll see, the jack could be a little bit more finicky here, but we'll see what we get. Like I said, the choke in this cold, sometimes half choke will do it. Even, it's so cold, even now it should be fine with half choke. Need a couple pulls here. Alright, maybe a little bit more. A little sticky. She runs. Probably not gonna idle very well for me right now, but yeah, it's cold. But you see, that was what, 4 pulls? No big deal. Who cares? You're not gonna sit out here yanking on this thing all day like everybody makes it out to be. And this one starts, let's see. Usually a lot easier. I think usually 2 or 3 pulls. This is really close, maybe 3 or 4. So, yeah, like I said, they're runners. It's 10 degrees out here. This sled sat out for better part of 20 years. A little bit of TLC, new old stock parts, as many as I could find. It just runs. It just runs, and that's all there is to it. You have this modern nonsense where if you have a malfunction, you can't repair it. Yeah, some of the parts are harder to find. They're not that hard to find, you know. Get a part number, look it up. A lot of them have been like deprecated, so you could use multiple part numbers. Sometimes things get a little tricky, but it's not rocket science. So I just don't understand like the allure of, you know, a $17,000 machine, a $15,000 machine. Like, yeah, if you're gonna be doing some kind of crazy stunts and all this stuff, but there's just some kind of raw, so it's getting really windy here, wow. There's just some kind of raw enjoyment that you get from these machines that, I mean, like this thing hitting 70 miles an hour, you feel 70. In these new sleds, you go 110 and it's just like, you know, you could have a sip of coffee when you're going 110, and that's great. That has its own utility, and that's like more of like a utility kind of thing. Like I need to do 150 miles of trail today, just to like check a box or something like that, and I don't see the enjoyment in that. I used to ride in stuff like that, in groups like that, and all it was just this huge, you know, sprint to see, you know, how many miles you could put on in a day. And I'm sure these sleds could have done that back in the day too, but at the end of the day, what's the point, really? Like, what's the point? It's just, I don't know, I don't see the enjoyment in that. I just don't see it. It's, like, like, why do you need to do that? This is all you need. It's a bad lighting here, but like, this is all you need. It's like, you don't need some crazy, now what? They have the GPS, like in the handlebars, you have a GPS? Okay, I mean, great, but whatever, just get on these things and rip it. This is great, you know, send it, as they say, right? But yeah, 2 old vintage Arctic Cats running together here on the farm, and thought I'd throw in some different content because there's a lot of stuff going on over here. Took a several-month hiatus. You know, all you gamer folks tuning in now are probably like, what is going on? But yeah, not everybody who's into that stuff just kind of sits around and twiddles their thumbs. This is a passion of mine, and like I said, there's nothing like it. You pull this, smell the oil, and get going, and there's just, you know, good luck finding one of these though. I haven't seen many. I haven't seen many at all. And when I was going to pick this one up, I called the guy. He said, get here quick because I'm getting a lot of calls. So I got there in about an hour. Just by fate, it was pretty close. And while I was there talking to the guy, just looking at this thing, it was like buried in his yard in dirt. Right? This thing was pretty rough shape. The guy got, I think, 3 calls or 4 calls. I was only there for like 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah, the guy's phone rang 4 or 5 times about this sled. And I'm sure whoever was calling wasn't going to do what we did here. What was he going to do? He was going to take the engine out. He was going to take the track. He was going to take the gauges. He was going to rip this thing to shreds, right? And just sell the parts. And yeah, that's a lucrative thing to do. But that's just kind of sad. It's just sad all the way around. This thing needed some work, but it wasn't rocket science. It's like a couple bolts here, a couple bolts there. You know, pull stuff out. We did it outside. I did it when it was like 12 degrees outside, 15 degrees outside. Doesn't matter. It's not that hard. You know, it's just not that hard. I didn't have a heated garage with, you know, 4K cameras filming everything and using all kind of precision stuff and blah, blah, blah. No, I just got it done. And that's the beauty of these machines. There's nothing like these anymore. And you're not going to be doing that stuff with these new machines. These $20,000, you know, 1200cc, you know, whatever. We'll see how long they last. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure I got to show these fire up. I tried a couple years ago, but things it wasn't working out with timing and everything. But here we go. We'll enjoy the snow while it lasts. A measly couple inches here in the Northeast. It's supposed to melt very shortly, so we'll be running these for a little bit. If you want to see more, maybe a couple actual running videos. I don't have a GoPro, but we could do some flybys maybe at some point before the snow melts. Anyway, Retro Renovo. This is some real retro here, and this is some real renew. This is a real retro renew. This is as legit as it gets. All right, take it easy.